News broke late last week that 34-year-old Daniel Martell, the so-called stepfather of missing Pictou County, Nova Scotia children Lilly and Jack Sullivan, had been arrested and charged with some egregious crimes not relating to Lilly and Jack, but relating to another adult. And this has made me just start to question the whole thing. Everything that I thought I knew about this case, it's now crashing down around me, and I can't wait to talk about it. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another True Crime Conversation with me, Gavin Fish. So glad you are joining me, wherever you're joining me from. And if you're new here, what I ask of you is to tell me where you're joining me from in the comments. I don't know. I love that. I love it. So please do. Today, we are talking about the case of missing Nova Scotia children, Lilly and Jack Sullivan. Guys, this is a case that I think has broken all of our hearts. This is a case, and you know what? Anytime children go missing, it is heartbreaking, right? And you start to think, you hold out hope, and you want them to come back, and then that hope for them wanting to come back starts to change, and you start to hope that at least there will be some type of resolution so that we know what happened to them. I keep thinking about little Melody Buzzard, right? We certainly didn't want to find out what happened to her, did happen to her, but at least we know what happened to her, and the justice system can move on, right? Can go its course and hold responsible the person that we think is responsible. This one, Lilly and Jack, Lily's 6 years old. Jack was 4 years old when they disappeared from their stepfather's home. This is a picture of the home in Lansdowne area of Pictou County in Nova Scotia. And they've just vanished. They've vanished. And it's not like there hasn't been some serious effort put into finding these children. I mean, there were helicopters in the air, drones in the air. There are people walking through swampy woods, thousands of volunteers, so many members of the RCMP and other first responders looking for these two kiddos, and nothing. We still to this day don't know what happened. Now, when this happened, they were living with their mom, Malehya Brooks Murry, and her domestic partner, who's been called their stepfather, Daniel Martell. If you remember, here's a photo of the whole family, because Daniel and Malehya have a little girl together, and then there are a total of 4 other children. So there are 5 children in this blended family, right? If you will remember, Malehya Brooks Murry spoke to the press right at the beginning. This was May 2nd, 2025, and then she went away. We did not hear from her ever again. In fact, why don't we real quick watch what it was that she said back on May 4th of 2025, 2 days after the children went missing. Let's see.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, "Do you hear the kids?" And he says, "No." And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
Okay, so that last part for me was the most suspicious thing. I don't see a tear, and it's all about me, right? That's what I remember feeling at the time. Like, and then she was just gone. She was just gone, and there were rumors about where she had gone, but there was nothing official that said this is where she is. She just wasn't there. She wasn't helping with the search. She wasn't helping with anything. It seemed, at least that's the way it appeared, right? We can't say for certain that is the way it was. It's just that's the way that it appeared. Now, Daniel, on the other hand, was sticking around. We're gonna start just to remind ourselves a couple of little news pieces. They're each a couple minutes long. This one from, who's this from? I can't remember. Global News. So this is what Daniel was doing at that time.
We were searching. We covered everywhere possible. Even in the first day, we did. Even with me running through the woods, I was ahead of the helicopters and ahead of the drones and stuff like that. Screaming as loud as I can, until my throat hurt. Running through water that was up to my waist. And as soon as I got back, I wasn't allowed back in the woods until a man dressed in a military outfit said I could go back into the woods.
4 days into the search for his missing stepkids, Lilly and Jack Sullivan, Daniel Martell is pleading with the public to keep their eyes peeled. But he has begun to lose hope they are anywhere in the vicinity.
They hate being wet and cold, so they immediately would have came right back into the house. The only two prints are right beside the house facing the road, and then that's it.
Martell wants the search to be extended to include provincial borders in case the children were abducted, a reality he says is becoming more and more likely.
Post any officers they can get at the New Brunswick border, PI border, and get them at every airport possible.
Martell confirmed that when the two children went missing from the home behind me, Lilly was wearing a pink shirt and pink rain boots. She was also carrying a white backpack with strawberries on it. Martell says although he didn't see Jack that morning, he is believed to be wearing a brown shirt, brown pants with a pull-up diaper on underneath, and blue rain boots with dinosaurs on them. He also refuted the claim that the two children are nonverbal, saying while they are on the autism spectrum, they are quite trusting and say hi to everyone. According to Martell, his side of the family are currently the only ones at ground zero after Lilly and Jack's mother left the county Saturday. But still, he remains, begging anyone with answers to come forward and bring his children home safe.
Anybody who has any information, or you think you've seen something or hear something, or any messages from friends about hearing something, just contact your local police services. Anything, guys, anything.
Okay, so at the time, I remember thinking, you know what happens when somebody is guilty? They try to take care of the situation, stay ahead of the situation, talk to the media, and I'm thinking of just idiots here, right? Chris Watts, for example, right? However, when I watched this part of it, he's the only one who shed a tear, and there were a couple interviews that he did where he was breaking down emotionally. I thought to myself, well, I mean, maybe he's innocent. Right? Maybe he is. And we got reports pretty early on, though they're from him, who said he submitted to a polygraph test that he passed. Of course, the police didn't tell us that. He told us that, right? Well, anyway, I'm belaboring this, right? I'm belaboring it. You guys, I'm burying the lead. You guys want to know what has been the news, okay? So I'm just going to bring you this report right here. This was from January 29th. Here we go. This one's about a minute and a half long.
Daniel Martell is facing charges of sexual assault, and forcible confinement. Martell is
So he is facing charges of SA, assault, which would be a physical, I don't know if it's simple or aggravated. I have no idea. And false confinement, which in many places that is considered kidnapping. So that means you did not allow that person the freedom of leaving a situation, freedom of movement. Those are the charges.
Father of missing children, Lilly and Jack Sullivan. RCMP have confirmed they arrested 34-year-old Martell on Monday. Police say the victim is an adult, but are not providing any more details.
Okay. I'm just going to reiterate here. The victim is not a child. It's not an arrest directly related to Jack and Lilly. It's an adult who he's being charged with SA, assault, and false confinement, false imprisonment, kidnapping. That's basically what that is. And I'm wondering who that person is. Now, in Canada, they don't release this sort of stuff the way they do in most of the United States, so we don't know who the victim is. But let's continue.
Martell was living with Lilly, Jack, and their mother when the children went missing from his family home in Lansdowne, Nova Scotia last May.
And remember, his mom was living in that RV out in the back. We saw a very colorful character.
The woods surrounding the home was searched for days, and RCMP Major Crimes has been conducting an extensive investigation. But little is known about what happened to the children, and so far, the case has not turned criminal.
The audio is not synced.
Earlier this month, RCMP Staff Sergeant Rob McCammon said none of the children's family members are suspects.
I wouldn't say anybody's a suspect. Again, we continue to gather information and whatever evidence that we are able to find, and we'll make our decisions based on that, but we are not in a position to really comment on suspects or anything like that at this time.
The mysterious nature of their disappearance has garnered international media attention. Martell has spoken publicly about what happened that day and the months that have followed. Martell is due in Pictou Provincial Court on March 2nd. Ali Thompson, CBC News, Halifax.
Let me just do that. Okay. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. And it's certainly not a conviction. He is being charged with SA, with assault and false confinement. He has not been convicted of those things. I am wondering if in the course of their investigation, and this is total speculation here, guys. And I try really hard to stay away from this, but we just don't have all that much information. Court records were released, in the last few weeks through the CBC and other outlets that Malehya Brooks Murry, the mother of the children, had complained that he had been physical with her before. And if any of you are in Canada, in fact, I should check where you guys are tuning in from. I would love to know if there's a statute of limitations on SA in Canada. Maybe we'll look that up as we go along. Let me go and check to see. Let's bring up Lilly and Jack, and let's bring up where you guys. Let's start with, where are you guys from? Where are we from? Marietta, Georgia is in the house. Let's see if that's going to work. Let me push the right button, Gavin. Or Javi. Push the right button, Javi. Come on up. There we go. Thanks, Javi. Thanks for figuring that one out. We got Austin here. Let's see. We got we do have a verdict in on Banfield. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Salvador, Brazil is in the house. Oregon is here. Lake George, New York. Iowa. Berlin is here. Nyack, New York. Kokomo, Indiana. Suffolk, UK. B-Town, Wisconsin. We got Indiana. Jacksonville, Florida. New Zealand is here. Seattle, Washington. Fredonia. Detroit. Houston. Cleveland, Kansas, Santa Barbara. So many different places. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate that. Fisher says, not to sidebar, but did you hear about the guilty verdict on Banfield? I did, and we will talk about that in headlines. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Fisher Blue says, wasn't it a rainy day? Thinking, would kids go out in the rain to play or walk off? Yeah, it was a rainy day. There was swampy area in the property around the house, and I would imagine with those conditions, it was really hard to track the kids. Scotch's mom asking, how does he know what they were wearing if he and partner were lying in bed? I mean, there are questions on this case that are just very, very difficult to answer, and I think, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what police have. I am not a person, by the way, and I think I'm a pretty good avatar for most dudes. If I bathed and dressed my little ones the night before, I would not be able to tell you the next morning what jammies they were in. I wouldn't be able to do that. I just saw my wife 2 minutes before we started this show, and I cannot tell you what she was wearing. I don't pay attention. I do pay attention to, she looks great, right? Looks good, but I have no idea. So I don't know. But moms, on the other hand, my wife can tell you what I'm wearing right now. She can tell you what all the kids are wearing right now. She pays attention to those things, right? So I don't know. Maybe they just knew what jammies the kiddos were in the night before, I guess. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, Scotch's mom, but it's a good question. Peanut's mom is saying maybe the mom is gone because they have been suspecting him all along. And especially with the information that came out in court records over the last few weeks, that maybe Malehya was like, this is my chance. He's surrounded by police. He's surrounded by first responders. I can get out of here with the baby and we can be safe. Maybe that's what happened there. I don't know. Jenny says, I think it's a possibility that the kids did wander off, but I have darker ideas on how that went down. Martell and mom were trying to sleep. Kids were loud. They told them to go outside if not quiet. Yeah. And then Martell and mom go back to sleep and kids were nowhere to be found when they woke up. Possible. Stephanie in Canada says, local to this, and Canada sure doesn't give out a lot of information. A lot of hush-hush. Lots of hush-hush. Autumn, please do. Please do. Yeah, Javi's been a good hire, everybody. My producer Javi. I think Wanda would have been good too. I think Dory would have been great, but we ended up on Javi, and Javi's doing great. Stephanie's from Brookfield, Nova Scotia. We got Atlanta in the house, Ontario, Connellsville, PA, the Republic of Ireland, New Jersey, Chile Lakeland, Riverbank, California. Man, everybody. The Berg is here. West Virginia. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Let's see. Cherish Brittany says, do you believe the parents were on substances? I think I don't have any reason to believe that they were, and I have no reason to believe that they were not, to my memory on this. Having said that, and if I can just put my judgy hat on here for a second, when I see a home like this, I think substance abuse. I really do. Yeah, I do. But like I said, I don't know. I have no idea. Let's see. Unacceptable in Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. Couldn't she be crying wolf to distance herself? She could be. Yeah, she absolutely could be. And that's a good comment. Hello from Perth. Glad to see you here. Let's see. Javi is a functional fish. Javi's the best. Javi is the best. Okay, so just to not to whip a dead horse here, but I just want to grab a couple of details out of the written version of that report that we just saw from the CBC. This is Allie Thompson. They have confirmed that he has been charged with SA, assault, and forcible confinement involving an adult, not involving the children. The children, what happened to the children is still a mystery. It's been 9 months. Nova Scotia RCMP confirmed he was arrested on Monday, so a week ago today. He's due in Pictou Provincial Court on March 2nd, a month from today. Yeah, and when I was looking at those, like the helicopters flying, those are Airbus A350s. Those, like, if you buy those on the used market right now, those are $4 million aircraft. I mean, the province, the county, whomever it was that they called in, they spared no expense to look for these kiddos. Authorities brought in cadaver dogs, conducted 75 interviews, several polygraph examinations, reviewed over 1,000 tips and 8,000 video files, and have assigned RCMP units from multiple provinces to investigate the case. The children's disappearance has fueled widespread speculation and accusations online amid international media attention. Yeah, I'm not making any accusations here, but I am asking questions. Like, I think I told you guys once that I became aware in my area here in Western PA, I became aware that because the court docket was faster than the police, that there was a warrant out for the arrest of a man in our area. And the docket said inactive, so I knew that he wasn't going to get arrested that day. So I decided that I was going to track him down at his house. And for like an hour at his house, he and his domestic partner, holding a little baby, lied to my face about the case that he was wanted for, basically. And I just let him talk. We weren't recording anything. It was off the record. He sat there for like an hour and just bald-faced lied to me. And if I didn't know the facts, or I didn't know the facts at that time, I was skeptical, but he was completely convincing. Now, he did eventually get arrested, and he did eventually plead guilty to a terrible, terrible crime, and will be spending decades behind bars because of it. But I look at Mr. Martell in these interviews where he looks sad. He is choked up. He either that or he's just faking choked up, and he's very, very good at it. He's better at it than anybody else I've seen. But could he possibly just be an act? Could that be an act? And I'm not accusing him of anything. The only accusations that he faces right now are from the police, not from me. It could be, and he'll have his day in court, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'd really love to know what happened to these two kiddos. These are two bright little things, man. What happened to Lilly and Jack? What happened? I don't know. I do not know. Let's see. S.Leo8 says he admitted to having problems with methamphetamines. Yeah. Those helicopters probably do belong to the feds. They probably have different provincial outposts and so forth. Guilty of crime says Daniel used methamphetamines confirmed by family, and they all seem to be on. I don't know what SP means, guilty of crime, but it sure is good to see you. Thanks for catching up with us. Not actually, you're ahead of us. I should be catching up with you. That's what it is. Let's see. Emmy53 says this is horrendous, and Daniel and Malehya must know. How true is the DNA found in the washing machine, and how laundry was being washed until early hours of the morning? What about text between them? Again, I know that there's a lot of conversation online, especially in the beginning. There was tons of conversation online. I haven't been able to verify any of that stuff, though, so I haven't really reported on it. I don't know. Mr. M325, he passed 2 lie detector tests regarding the children. The assault is a separate case, unrelated. Okay, if I can just respectfully and thankful for your comment, but if I can just respectfully point out that it hasn't been anybody who has told us that he passed 2 lie detector tests except for him. He is the one that has told us that. We haven't heard that from the police. We haven't heard it from courts. We haven't heard it from anyone. He just said that he passed. Now, regarding the second sentence, this assault is a separate case. It is, but it leads to questions about if somebody is capable of doing that to someone else. Is he capable of disappearing children? This is going to lead me to a tangent. We have time. We have time. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Here we go. All right. When I lived in Argentina, my dad, of course, this was back in the olden days. This is in the mid 90s. And so the only way to communicate with my parents was letters, right? I was a young man. And the occasional little micro cassette, we would record little micro cassettes and send them on to listen to each other's voices. And then a couple times a year, we would pay for the very expensive call, like on Christmas. But anyway, my dad loved clipping things out of magazines and newspapers and sending me clippings of what was going on in the States. And he also liked to show me things that were going on in Argentina. So one day I get a package from the folks, and it has the normal news clippings, right? And I'm going through the clippings, and there's one from National Geographic, and it is like a long form article, 3 or 4 pages, the way National Geographic did it. That was, and the reason I thought about this was when I said the disappeared children. There is a term in Spanish, desaparecidos, people who have been disappeared. They have disappeared. And in the couple of years before I had arrived in Argentina, there was a bit of a rebellion, a bit of an attempted coup. And many of those people who engaged in that attempted coup were young people. They were students, and they had just been taken out of their homes, taken out of their schools, taken off of the street, never to be seen again. And a group of divers from National Geographic had dived into, or dove, I don't know how to say that. They scubaed down into a lake, like a man-made lake, and at the bottom of a dam, an earthen dam, there was evidence of human remains and things like concrete and chains and stuff like that. And then they were finding large bones and things like that. Anyway, so my dad sends me this thing about basically people who'd been murdered. They'd been shackled to concrete and thrown into the lake. And as I was reading that, and I found out, it was like Dique San Roque was the name of the dam and the reservoir. That lake was in my backyard. I mean, that's overstating it a little bit, but like, I don't know, a quarter of a mile behind my house. And I was like, dude. Total tangent, guys. Total tangent. Okay, let's get back to Lilly and Jack here. What do we have here? Chava Ehrlich says, I think it's possible to know what the kids were wearing when they just don't have a lot of stuff. Oh, that's a good point. Hey, good point. Good point. E.g., when their only jacket or pair of boots and one of 3 or 4 jeans or shirts is gone. That so smart. So smart. Peanuts mom, and you know what? Yeah, so smart. Peanuts mom says, Gavin, that just means he believes what he answered. I don't put much on lie detectors because you can be delusional enough to believe what you said when it's a lie. Well, I guess. My uncle, who worked at the FBI for years and years and years as a special agent, retired as a polygraph specialist for the agency, and then consulted for the agency with polygraph. So I do believe in the usefulness of the polygraph, but I see your point. And I also, like, for example, getting back to like Chris Watts, I know I've brought him up twice now on this. But you know, they hooked him up to a polygraph and asked him questions, and then immediately came in as like, Chris, you didn't do well. You completely failed, man. And that was the moment where he's like, yeah, okay, I better come clean. And so it was just a tool for investigators to use to leverage a confession from a person that they suspected, right? So, yeah. Kay Wills says, I'd never live in Argentina. Argentina is a beautiful place. Argentina is a beautiful place. Fourth opinion, I've been playing devil's advocate on this one and have been failing. That's funny. Yeah, devil's advocate. No. Devil's advocate. Well, guys, I mean, hopefully we will find out, March 2nd, maybe there will be some more information that'll come out. Canada just does not release a lot of this information. But the more important thing, the thing that I check on every single day, what is the news on Lilly and Jack? What is the news? And it has been crickets for so long. I just really want these kiddos found. But for now, how about you and me head into 3 questions, shall we? Oh, wrong button. Dang it. I wanted it to be dramatic. That wasn't Javi's fault, everybody. That was not Javi's fault. That was mine. Javi, let's do a take 2. Let's take 2. Okay. How about you and I right now head in to 3 questions.
It's 3 questions.
See, that worked really well. They won't even notice it, Javi. It was a second take. They won't even notice it at all. It was smooth. Oh, did I say that out loud? Guys, in this segment of the show, I answer 3 of your questions. It's simply named and simply done. You send in 3 questions and I answer them there 3 questions. You send them to 3questions@gavinfish.com. Spell it out, THREE questions at gavinfish.com. Nothing's off the table. Now, recently there's been some political questions coming in, but you know what? I said nothing's off the table. I'd like to keep this a politics-free place. I'd appreciate it if politics weren't brought in, and maybe I need to change the rules. Maybe I need to say, let's not do politics. But I have said everything's on the table. I will answer all your questions. So, but today's questions are actually pretty straightforward. And what I'm hoping that you guys will do is in the chat, answer the questions for me as well. Don't forget to put GF in your answer so that I know what it highlights it on my end so that I can see it. Okay, question number 1. Do you have any pets? Indeed, we do. Currently, in Chateau Fish, we have 2 cats. They are the very first cats we've ever had. Their names are Betty Haynes and Judy Haynes, the famous Haynes sisters, and I have learned that I am a cat person. We also, in our home right now, have 2 cockatiels, a male and a female. We are down from, I think our record for how many birds we had in the house at a given time was like 7. We have children that love animals. And then we have a little bunny named Harry that is also here in the house, a house bunny named Harry. His companion sadly passed away pretty recently. Those are the pets in Chateau Fish at the moment. But we've had snakes, we've had mice, we have had dogs. I've always thought that I was a dog person. Turns out I think I'm a cat person. But yeah, that is the situation here. Question number 2. If you were invisible for a day, what would you do? If I were invisible for a day, would I go on some grand adventure? Would I sneak my way into some facility where I was where I was not allowed? Would I spy on somebody? No, I think I would just I don't know. I think I would just have a day all to myself, and it would be awesome. And that's not to say that I don't have those days. I just really love those days. I think I would have a day all to myself. But I'm curious what the rules are here. Am I invisible, but my clothes aren't, so I have to be necky and cold all the time? So if that's the case, I'm not doing anything. Or do I have the power to invisible myself and my clothing and maybe even my car or something like that? Then that would change. Those variables would change the equation for sure. I think I would just spend a day alone. I really do. And I want to know what you guys would do. Last question. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? Okay, I'm a professional quibbler here. Are you saying what would my last meal be? Because the rest of my life is short and about to be snuffed out? Or is it that I have a long and glorious life and I'm going to eat just one meal? It's actually very easy for me. I never get... Oh, and let's just assume that I won't get fat again. Okay? Let's just assume that. For me, it is the classic hamburger with pickles, onions, lettuce, ketchup. Well done patty. I like things well done. I know. It's weird, but that's what I like. A well done patty on a good sourdough roll with some fries. And if I'm going to be honest, an RC Cola. I mean, I haven't eaten any of that stuff in months, but yeah, I do love a good burger. In fact, it's really funny because we have an inside joke. If Kimberly and I go out to an American restaurant, the joke is that I'm going to hem and haw over the menu. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to, should I do this? Should I do that? But I am going to order the hamburger, and that's all I'm going to order. Likewise, if we go to a Mexican restaurant, she'll look through the entire menu and she'll say, "Oh, I think I'm going to do something fancy here." But she's definitely ordering the veggie fajitas. That's just the way it is. I would be happy with a burger and fries for the rest of my life. And actually, getting back to before, if it were the last meal that I was going to have, and I could have lobster, or I could have steak, or I could have anything I wanted, it'd be a burger and fries, man. It would be a burger and fries. And those are our 3 questions. Okay. Now, real quick, we're going to get into headlines, but when we do, take that time. Please answer the questions. What would be your last meal? If you're invisible for the day, what would you do? And do you have any pets? I'd love to hear that. And with that, let's get into some headlines.
True crime headlines.
Pow. Now that one was well executed. It was dramatic. It was a good little segue into that little whatever you call it, the little theme song. Okay. Headline number 1. We talked about it earlier. Brendan Banfield double murder trial. He was found guilty in elaborate plot to get rid of his wife. A Virginia man has been found guilty of killing his wife and a stranger lured to their home. The evilness, man. A stranger lured to their home under false pretenses in an elaborate plot to get rid of his spouse so he could be with his au pair with whom he was having an affair. Brendan Banfield, 40, is accused of stabbing his wife to death in their home in Fairfax County and fatally shooting a man he allegedly catfished on a fetish website. Prosecutors said he pretended to be his wife to lure the man to their home for what was believed to be a consensual, fake R-word scenario in order to frame that stranger for the wife's murder. Evil. I can't imagine a worse crime. It's so bad. The jury deliberated nearly 9 hours over 2 days, starting Friday, before reaching a verdict Monday afternoon. Finding him guilty of 2 counts of aggravated murder, he exhibited little emotion when the verdict was read. His sentencing is scheduled for May 8th. He faces a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Second headline, and this one is another one that I've been looking at every day to see what is going on here. And guess what? Finally, something happened today. Headline, suspect in Kata Scott murder held for trial after emotional hearing in Philadelphia court. You guys remember Kata Scott, the Philadelphia young lady, recent college graduate, who was last seen at her job, leaving the job, going with somebody, and then her body was discovered in a park later. Mr. Keon King is charged with her murder. Now, a preliminary hearing happened today. The suspect charged with murdering 23-year-old Philadelphia woman Kata Scott was ordered to be held for trial after an emotional preliminary hearing Monday. Keon King, 21, has been held without bail since his arrest on October 15th. He's charged with murder, kidnapping, and assault. Scott disappeared on October 4th. After an intensive search that made national headlines, Scott's body was found 2 weeks later in a shallow grave behind the vacant Ada Lewis Middle School in Philadelphia's Germantown neighborhood. Let's see. Action News reporter Taronda Thomas was in court for the hearing on Monday. She said King looked... Oh, yeah, because it's Pennsylvania, there's no cameras, no anything in a courtroom. Sucks, but that's the way Pennsylvania law is. So Taronda Thomas said King looked quite a bit different from the way he did in his mugshot. He had a haircut, no longer had dreadlocks, wore a cardigan and a button-down shirt, and the judge allowed King's handcuffs to be removed as he sat in court. Kata Scott's family members filled part of the courtroom in a show of support. Good for them. Good for them. During the hearing, a former co-worker of Scott testified that on the night of Scott's disappearance, Scott got a phone call right when she arrived for her overnight shift at 10 p.m. According to the coworker, Scott said something to the effect of, "I can't believe you're calling me." Scott had tears in her eyes and appeared scared, the coworker testified. Prosecutors revealed evidence that pointed to Keon King as the person who made the 43-second phone call, and we've read those affidavits. Investigators also revealed evidence that King and Scott had been texting in a way that suggested they'd planned to meet up that evening. So you can read that on 6 ABC. Several investigators testified. There was surveillance video that was shown. So he's been held for court. So that means that he is moving from the district court over to the Court of Common Pleas. I'm sure that there will be a hearing, a status hearing. No, I think his next hearing will be an arraignment. Then the last headline I wanted to share with you guys tonight was Charlie Adelson. Good old Charlie. Charlie's attorneys to appear in court seeking a new trial. Okay. Of course, Charlie Adelson was convicted in the murder of his former brother-in-law, Dan Martell. His mother, Donna Adelson, was also convicted. Catherine Manbagua, his girlfriend, was convicted. And then Luis Rivera, Sigfredo Garcia were all convicted in the murder of Dan Martell. Now, of course, now we kind of wonder what's going to happen with Harvey. But getting back to the article, Charlie Adelson's attorneys will push for a new trial on Tuesday, tomorrow. At the First District Court of Appeal, Adelson was convicted in 2023 for first-degree murder, solicitation, and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in the 2014 killing of former FSU professor Dan Martell. Charlie Adelson was convicted as one of the co-conspirators in Martell's murder in January 2025. The First District Court of Appeal denied a motion by Adelson's team seeking to relinquish jurisdiction in the trial court. Now on Tuesday, oral arguments will be heard by 3 appeal judges, Judges Rowe, Winokur, and M.K. Thomas. The docket does say this is subject to change. According to the docket, the paperwork submitted to the courts, Michael Robert Ufferman and Laurel Cornell Niles, Adelson's attorneys, are appealing based on the trial court erring when they denied a change of venue for the trial, excluding defense proffered text messages that would have shown appellant Adelson, Charlie, and other alleged co-conspirators communicating normally during the time leading up to Dan Martell's murder. It excluded evidence that was highly probative of the theory of the defense. This was related to the defense's theory that Adelson was being extorted. Their arguments conclude with the errors cumulatively in this case denied appellant Adelson his constitutional right to a fair trial. The state and the defense will each be allotted 20 minutes to present their case. Oral arguments are set to begin tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Those are our headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie, let's see what you guys are saying over here. First, we have a super chat. Thank you so much. So what is it? Profizzler. Gavin, not to give away my age, but I remember those missing students. Their mothers were unrelenting in protesting their children's disappearance. They marched holding their children's photos. Las madres de los desaparecidos. Yes, indeed. I don't remember it much because I was focused on other things. But when Dad sent me that information, I was like, crazy. And Indy loves our cats' names. Yeah, Betty and Judy. We could have gotten Benny, the dog face boy, but who wants that? We just did Betty and Judy. Let's see. Kate in Virginia says, I'm a cat person too. Currently, I have 4 cats and a dog. Awesome. Garth B. Nutt says, I love animals. My Chihuahua, Pebbles, is queen of the house. Queen of the house. I've always wanted a Chihuahua, actually. We've had 3 dogs, and The first was just a mutt. He was a muddy boy, found in a crate behind the Rayleighs in Sacramento, California. And my brother-in-law brought him home, and we kidnapped him about a year later because my mother-in-law just didn't want him. And we've had a Great Dane, and we've had a Australian Shepherd. If I do a dog ever again, it will be a small dog. Teresa says, not allowed pets in my rental. I used to have cats. Invisible for a day, I would people watch. Eat one meal only for the rest of my life would be ground beef with mushrooms. All right, nice. Ohio Palm Mom says, pets, 11 indoor cats, 2 dogs, and 2 cockatoos. Ah, you're the bigger parrots. Wow, good for you. Oh, Emmy, no. The question is, was it in your headlines that Savannah Guthrie's mom disappeared? No, I decided against that one, but that is an interesting case. I don't know. We're going to have to keep our eye on that one. Fourth Opinion says, I have a dog who has saved me emotionally more times than I can count. He is 15 and a half. He gave me nothing but unconditional love. Yeah, dogs are the best. Dogs are the best. Just Ducky says, no pets currently. I want to get a rescue dog in the spring. Invisible, take a first class flight to a swanky resort. Meal, steak and loaded baked potato. That does sound delicious. Yeah, her mother is missing from Tucson. It's just crazy. I will look into it. Let's see. Lirinal says, one of the best things I've ever seen. Chihuahua owner was 6-foot+ Texas Ranger riding around in a Dodge Ram with 5 Chihuahuas in the truck with him. Almost had a wreck laughing. That's awesome. Guys, thank you for participating. I love getting your feedback on that stuff. And thanks for the questions. Please continue to send them to 3questions@gavinfish.com. 3questions@gavinfish.com. I love that. Before we go, let me just do a very, very quick plug for those of you who stick around. I really appreciate you guys who stay around to the end. Please visit me on my website, gavinfish.com. There's swag. You can buy merch like this here Gavin Fish coffee mug that has just one more episode on the other side. In fact, I'm wearing a Cluvelta shirt now. You can't see it because of my winter uniform, but yeah, I got swag up there. There are different ways that you can support me on the website, which I deeply appreciate, including supporting my lead moderator, Autumn, by buying her a coffee. You can always reach out to me by clicking on the envelope icon up in the upper corner. That will bring you to a form where you can send information to me. Oh, it looks like I have something to fix, so don't do it yet. Looks like I got something to fix on the website. And if you click on the little fishy icon, that will take you to the fish tank where me and 6,000 others hang out and talk about true crime stuff. You guys are always invited to join us there. With that, I shall bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. We will see you tomorrow night. Maybe we'll be talking about Savannah Guthrie's mom. I need to do a little bit of research into that because we do not like that. We do not like that at all. And until then, I bid you adieu, and I hope to see you the next time. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.